Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knights of the Pageless Library. I am Bo Knight, joined as always by my brother Ryan Knight, and today we have an extra special guest with Jon Graham. Jon Graham, how are you doing today?
How's it going, man? Good to be here. Thanks.
I got to get this out of the way first. I am such a huge fan of yours.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
It was a really big deal for us to have you agree to come on because I'm pretty sure I showed Bo your work way back in the day when you kind of
Yeah.
started coming out with it, and we've been big fans ever since. So
It's been a long time, a long road.
has it? That's
Yeah.
we we will definitely get into the what I believe is the meat and potatoes of your work, but we did have a couple of questions that we wanted to kind of ask you maybe before we get into too much specifics on your kind of main body of work.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Um, so what kind of got you going as like a content creator? What made you, want to get into that and start being devoted to that?
Well, I was for a long time I was a heavy PC user. Like I got my first computer in the early 90s and like I started on Windows 95, 98, something like that. And even back then I was playing around with the text to speech
Okay.
synthesizer that came with it, right?
Right.
And I was always a bit of foreshadowing there for you. And I was always into gaming, and I graduated high school, and uh, I went to my prom, and by the end of it, I tore like three ligaments in my ankle
Oh no.
Oh
in
wow.
like a it was like a dry grad after the dance sort of thing where everybody's like screwing around on these like there's like this big arena full of these inflatable like rides. Like one had like laser tag in it and stuff. But anyway, I fell, tore ligaments in my ankle, had to get wheeled out on a stretcher,
Oh wow.
and went to the hospital. And but anyway, I was immobile for at least a few months after that. I mean, like I could get around, but it hurt to stand up because all the blood would like rush down to my ankle. It was agony. So I spent a lot of time just getting immersed in the internet during that time. And I mean, I was already studying the internet, but I was getting more familiar with like internet culture and memes and stuff when they were
Mhm.
just like starting out
Yeah.
during that time because I had nothing else to do. And around that same time, uh, the Halo 3 was about to come out. But before that, I mean, I was always a huge Halo fan. Played Halo 2, was waiting for Halo 3, and the Halo 3 beta came out, and that was accessible via a game called Crackdown for the Xbox 360. And that had you got that game and you would get an automatic like key access key to the Halo 3 beta when it was activated. And I was all over that because I was like stoked for Halo 3. And then I had at that time I had this Master Chief figurine. I can't remember if I got it as a gift or I got it myself while I was on vacation somewhere, but either way I had it in my room and I would just like stare at it and think like sometimes what if it was like wandering around like Toy Story, what if it came to life? And I kind of put it together in my head with the Microsoft text to speech voices, and they were both Microsoft trademarks. I guess that was one of the reasons I connected those dots. And then I also connected those with the fact that Halo 3 beta was coming out. And so and then I was into YouTube at that time as well. Like I think YouTube had been online for a few years at that point or something, and I was just really getting into it and seeing the potential of it, and I was fascinated by it. Like people can just upload anything. Um, and I thought, hey, I'll make something stupid and upload it and see what happens. And there was no monetization of YouTube back then. There was no
Right.
stream. There was
Right.
no, yeah, like there wasn't even ads. Never mind, like a partner, or maybe there might have been ads. I can't remember, but there's no partner program. So it was really just a hobby. I was like, I'll just see what happens, and I enjoyed making it. So I made this video called Master Chief Sucks at Halo. That was my first upload. Well, not my first upload, but like my first entry into what would be this like Arby and the Cheif series, right? So um I got the action figure, put a controller in its lap, got my JVC camcorder that recorded on mini DV cassette, and I recorded it, and I recorded footage of me playing the beta. And the idea was to make fun of people online because the console online gaming player base was so like it was such a volatile environment.
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially the early days.
Yeah. I mean it's nowhere near what it used to be. Like nowadays it's like completely the landscape has changed. Um and some would say that's for good. And but I kind of miss how crazy it was. Like
Yeah.
people would just say like crazy shit. There's no moderation.
Right.
Like it was so easy to because when you bought like Xbox Live, it came with a package that had like a plug and play headset.
Yep.
Mhm.
You
I
literally
remember
just
those.
right slap it into your controller, one button on and off,
Oh
like
yeah.
to mute it, unmute, and that was it. You could talk to everyone. You could like pre-game lobbies where 16 people would just be
Mhm.
talking shit like simultaneously, like nonstop, this
Oh yeah.
cacophony of just like trolling and people provoking each other. I found that really funny, and I wanted to make fun of that. And there was also like beyond just like the amusement of it, there was a deep idea there that fascinated me about like how human beings interact with each other when you strip away some core things that are core to human conversation and interaction, such as face to face
Oh yeah. Sure.
presence, anonymity. Like if you just have an open mic, it's like open mic night constantly, and but like nobody knows who you are, and there's no like repercussions for anything you say. Like
Yep.
it's just it's like a recipe for a nightmare, right? And you know there's good and bad to that, and I wanted to make fun of that with my Master Chief Sucks at Halo video. So Master Chief, my version of the character, because the idea is to like take the Bungie character and like turn it on its head, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
like it's like a stoic kind of hero character in the games, and my version of him to like emphasize that it's a parody is the inverse, and he sort of embodies all uh everybody I was hearing online, like the way people would talk to each other. He sort of embodied all of that in one character, and I made him talk with the Microsoft Sam voice, and I gave him subtitles written in Leet speak. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
You probably are, but and then I cut it all together, uploaded it, and didn't think much of it. I thought this is this is a pile of shit. Nobody's gonna like this. But I was very wrong about that. I mean, it got like millions of hits, and
Well, I have to
um,
admit, I had to have been a few of those. So,
Mhm.
and I shared it around quite a bit. So,
yeah. Um, so that was the origin of my YouTube content, I guess. Like as a YouTuber, I hate that term, but
right.
whatever. That was that was my entry into YouTube.
Yeah.
And I made a sequel because it did so well. I'm like, whatever, I'll make another one. And because I had fun making the first one, I thought, why not? And I was getting all this attention. And I made the second one, and people really liked that. And then that was when I got contacted by the company Machinima based in LA. And then that was a whole thing. I um, took a contract with them, and they were a very small Machinima I mean, it's non-existent now, but before it exploded, it was huge. But before it was huge, it was very small and looking for content creators. And that was when they contacted me. And they said, we need content. We like your stuff. We will pay you to keep doing what you're doing. And I wasn't getting money for making these things at the time. And so I was like stoked. I'm like, you're telling me I can make money and make these stupid fucking videos? Like, awesome. Sorry if I don't know if I can swear on this.
You
thing or
can,
not.
you
Absolutely.
can swear.
Okay. I usually I'll try not to, but sometimes I'm inclined to do so. But anyway, so I worked with Machinima remotely, like they were based in LA. I'm based in British Columbia, Canada. And yeah, so I would write scripts and I would film it all. I would do most of the voiceover, if not all of it. I would edit it all, and then give my uploads to them. They would put it in their programming queue, and then it would go up on their channel. And I did my first video for them was Master Chief Sucks at Halo 3, because I figured people know me for Master Chief Sucks. I might as well come out the gate in terms of my employment with Machinima with like because Halo 3 was finally out, right? So if I call this Master Chief Sucks at Halo 3, it's like in the first episode he was playing the beta, but now I can have it so he's playing the full game for this one. And I can take full advantage of the theater mode that came with Halo 3. Like it was like Halo 3 was cool because it introduced Forge mode and theater mode. And in theater mode, it basically gave you a free moving cinematic camera that you could move around replays of any match that you played. And for anybody who wants to make movies with Halos, like the perfect tool. So after I made that, then I'm like, well, I should develop a series, like something longer term. And then if I'm going to do that, then I feel like Master Chief needs a foil character, like somebody for him to bounce off of. And so I came up with the idea of having an Arbiter figurine who's like his partner, and he's like a partner of sorts. They're like a comedy duo where they're constantly clashing, but like Arbiter can be the straight man. And then like they would balance each other out, and it would make for funnier dialogue having someone to riff off of. And so I started the Arby and the Cheif series, and I made the pilot. It was just really popular. And then I got a nod from Bungie at the time. Frank O'Connor, who was their creative director, made a post on their website. It said, "Do not watch this video," in all caps or something like that, and it linked to my first episode.
No way.
Because like it was very spicy language, but even back then, it spicy shit and spicy language just wasn't a huge deal back then, to the point
Right.
where a company like Bungie was willing to like wink in a wink sort of way endorse a video like mine, because they knew my heart was in the right place despite the language, and they knew I was who I was making fun of,
Right.
like the kind of toxic people. And I was really happy about that, and that's how I got their recon armor, which was like a special it was like a it was an unlockable armor permutation in Halo 3 that there was an in-game way of getting it, but it was a lot of hoop jumping. But there was a shortcut way to get it, being that if you impressed Bungie or their community in some way with some kind of original content, they would award you the armor. And I got it for doing the pilot. And so I immediately made an episode where Cheif has recon, and he just goes online and gloats about it, because it's like that's what you do when you get an exclusive thing that nobody else has. You go online and you showboat, and you go, "Look at this fucking thing I got, and you don't have it, you losers." So that was funny. And yeah, I did seven. I did actually. Well, I did 7 seasons of Arby and the Cheif under Machinima, and then it all kind of went to shit because Machinima was poorly run, and there was some acquisition bullshit that happened, and I made an 8th season on my own channel, and I'm still making content today. But I made the finale for season 8 recently, and so that's the whole show's on my channel now because Machinima's, like I said before, is literally non-existent now.
Yeah,
And yeah.
I noticed that. I was going to ask you about that because I noticed you can still go to Machinima's channel and it has like over 11 million subscribers or something with 0 videos. Like they took everything down.
Yeah, I mean, it's either deleted or everything's privatized. It's unclear which,
Wow.
because if it's privatized, it means it's all still there. And if like somebody has the login credentials for that account, they must. And so they're like, if it all has been privatized, there's a chance that all that content could be like, you know, acquired and released again. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. Because it's a real shame. Oh, there's a lot of, I was lucky because my fans backed up my episodes and I was able to assemble an archive based on what fans were archiving on their ends, because I was too dumb to, like, I lacked the foresight to like invest in hard drives and storage space and back everything up on my ends. But there are people who made stuff for Machinima who just lost everything, and they,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they could never, like, years of content, and it was just all rendered inaccessible or just gone, and they had to build their content library from the ground up. But I got lucky. So
Yeah. No, and
yeah.
that sounds, it sounds like a lot of the pieces, at least for your early on stuff, were falling into place for you just one right after the other, man. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting journey working for them, that's for sure.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't necessarily know how much you can or even want to talk about working with them. Because I know we've you probably know who Oni NG or for Oni Cartoons was. But
Oh
he
yeah.
yeah, so he had that video where Machinima apparently contacted him to work with him, and he made a video straight up telling them no, because, and this was later on in their journey, and he was straight up telling them no because of how poorly it was run at that time apparently too. So
Oh yeah. Right. Um, I have no problem talking about Machinima. It's just I wasn't privy to a lot of the goings on because, like I said, I was remote. You know, I was
sure.
out in Canada. I would go to Machinima, their offices, very occasionally. Like I went, and when I first got the job, I went there briefly for a few days just to, like, you know, get a sense of the place and meet the team. And and then after that I went for a few more trips to LA to do some like E3 coverage.
Oh, cool.
But that was it. I wasn't really in the office a lot, or if barely at all. So like I haven't, there's nothing like I overheard or anything, or
Mm.
usually my conduct with staff was via email, like
Sure.
nearly all the time. So there's only so much I can tell you.
Right. Was it, I mean, from your end, was that a good, experience having this kind of up and coming larger production company take hold of your content? Or, I mean, especially back then, like you said, this was kind of the earlier days of YouTube when you started this stuff. So it wasn't like now where your hope is to just go viral and that's you're set for life. That's not really how it worked back then. You did kind of need more ways to funnel people to your content, especially back then.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, I thought it was great. Um, aside from like, I mean, there was some bullshit that at the time I was too naive to get my head around. But like, the first contract I accepted was, the payment model was like, um, X sum based on Y views, and instead of a salary.
Oh
But
wow.
because I think they gave me that because they weren't expecting just how well my videos would do. and like I would have made an enormous amount of money, but they revoked the contract and gave me a new one that was salary based. And so they could keep the heft of all the ad revenue they were collecting, I guess. And but like at the time I was just like, whatever, I'm getting a salary doing what I like to do, so whatever, what am I gonna do, like not take the job? So I decided to do that instead and use that as an opportunity to I was earning a livable income doing shit that I really liked, so I saw myself in a fortunate position, and I'm like, this is an opportunity to like build my skills because I know this is something I want to be good at. Like even since I was a kid, like I knew I wanted to get into entertainment in some way. I didn't know whether it was like game design or movies, screenwriting, but yeah, making Arby and the Cheif was a great training exercise for me, and I'm still learning, but yeah, in the beginning it was great. And but then like as they got bigger and they made these partnerships with these bigger and bigger companies, I think they were under pressure to like clean up because they had all this like quote gamer humor, it was like too spicy. I guess it was getting increasingly spicy, and I guess companies just wanted Machinima to clean up their act. And then around like season 7, all of a sudden I got like a list of words that I couldn't say anymore.
Oh wow.
And before then the show was completely uncensored,
Right.
and it was just like up to my discretion, like because I would use really spicy language a lot, but I felt like I always properly contextualized it. And then all of a sudden it's like, you can't see this, you can't see that. I'm like, well, like I've been saying it for years now,
Right.
and this is just going to piss people off. And I'm like, I know these words are offensive, but this is why it works. This is why that word works. This is why it's not actually offensive. But they didn't care. It's just like, no, you said the word, you can't say the word, say something else. But I would keep the bad words in, but I would bleep them out. And I would put so many curse words in that there would just be a comical amount of bleeping and like black bars over text.
Right.
There's like a protest to the sudden censorship. And because it kind of bugged me that like this offensive kind of humor was their bread and butter, but then all of a sudden it was like not cool anymore.
Right.
It's like, well, this is where you came from. Like I'm talking to like the company
Yeah.
here. And so you can't just like, I don't know, you can't like come out the gate with this style, this fashion of content, and everybody's gravitating towards you for that reason. And then you try and reinvent yourself and expect to retain all the respect that you had initially. Like, I don't think it works like that.
Right. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that issue just got worse and worse to the point where I think Warner Brothers owns this kind of sub conglomerate called Full Screen, I think, and they acquired not only Machinima but Rooster Teeth and maybe a couple other companies. And then
Wow.
yeah, and now for whatever reason Machinima's just gone. Like I don't even think it exists on, like it's not even a corporate entity anymore. It's just like the only sign that it's still there is that the YouTube channel is there, but there's no, like you said, there's no videos on their video page. They might have like maybe there's a website front page with no links, but I imagine that's probably down too at this point. So yeah,
Wild,
there's
though.
like nothing left. Yeah.
Is that also why I noticed on your YouTube channel, some of the earlier seasons, it seemed like there's maybe a couple episodes missing here and there? Is that part of why that might have happened, is because of that, just not being able to retain some of those episodes?
Missing on my channel?
Yeah, are they not? I thought I was looking through them and they were like, it went from like 4 to 6 on one really early season. Maybe I could have also completely misconstrued that, man. I'm sorry if I did.
No problem. I mean, I'm just because I think they're all there on my channel now.
You
Like
know,
they're all sorted into playlists. Like you can access them, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like I was watching them the other day, and this I might also be misremembering this. I think it was, is it in the beginning of season 2 when Travis, when they're introduced, when those guys
Yeah.
show up? I
Yeah, that
feel
was
like
season 2.
the introduction episode for them was missing, because I think I was watching the playlist where it was playing through the episodes, and then all of a sudden they were in the show, and I thought, wait a minute, I thought there was a full introduction episode of them showing up, and I thought I definitely didn't see it, but maybe that was a playlist issue or something like that. But
Yeah, it could have also been maybe it was like a fan uploaded playlist with some stuff missing. But
and that very well could have been, yeah.
to my knowledge, it's all there on my channel now.
Okay.
And
Well,
Chad and Travis do show up really abruptly, and all of a sudden they're part of the cast.
right.
So like, yeah, that was an interesting phase of my writing. I thought, hey, more characters, better show, right?
Right. Well, and that was part of why. So for anybody like who is, coming to this obviously from what we normally do from an audiobook narrator voiceover type of standpoint, that was one reason I wanted to have you on those, because for the show, I mean, yes, you have a couple synthetic voices, but for the most part, you do almost the rest of them, right? By yourself.
Oh yeah, I used to do the female characters as well.
Right. Yeah.
Really?
It was a particularly cringe phase of my production as well. Thank thank God I eventually smartened up and decided to reach out to some cast members because it wasn't like an ego thing or anything. I was just introverted and I didn't want to reach out to people and be like, "Hey, voice my stupid script, please."
No, but I mean, I think that's really cool though, that you took that on all by yourself to do every aspect of the show, like you said, from filming to editing to uploading, you did all of it yourself, which is, I mean, it had to have been a big undertaking, whether anybody, if whether they want to say, oh, well, it's just a silly show. It's like, that's not the point. There's a lot of work that goes into something like that, whether it's silly or serious, it doesn't matter.
That's true. Yeah. As dumb as it is, there's a lot of layers to the production and they all have to be like considered carefully and pulled together at the end in such a way that all the jokes land. Like there's a lot of work that goes into that. But yeah, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I mean, unless I really trusted the another person I was working with, but I'd really rather just do things myself because I get to learn about every aspect of production. I mean, even music. Like I started scoring my own tracks because I was tired of paying 40-50 bucks for a license for a single fucking track. Like, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have to keep using the same tracks, but I don't want to spend any more money either. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll just get a music program and I'll learn that as well. And it's cool now because like I'm quite efficient and fast at like production, like at all these phases of production that most people would see one and just be kind of confused. But it's really not that. When you know what you're doing, I mean, it's I don't really, I enjoy the process of it, you know. Like I love writing and having complete creative control, and I love this. I love cinematography. I love framing a nice shot. I take a lot of pride in that and how the show like looks, the visual storytelling of it. And and I love editing. I just love every phase of it. So I mean it can be a grind sometimes, obviously. Uh it's not always fun.
Right. Well, yeah, at
But
some point, I mean, that if it's your job, it is just that. At sometimes it is still a job,
yeah.
I fully get that.
Yeah. And it's hilarious to think of it as a job sometimes. You know, like I'm a 34-year-old man lying on his stomach in his bedroom with a camcorder in one hand and a fucking action figure in the other. Like, this is work, you guys. Feel like a big overgrown baby.
It's all good, man.
But
Living the
yeah,
dream, in my opinion.
it is pretty nice. Yeah, if infantile on the surface, but it is quite nice, and I learned a lot doing it. Like the amount I've learned of like filmmaking and storytelling doing this show is just unreal. It's like been the best class, you know, that I've ever taken.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, is that for the most part pretty much all, you know, self-taught stuff that you just, that was all your creative license, right? Kind of going into the show, especially early on.
Yeah, I mean, even before Master Chief Sucks at Halo, I was making Machinima movies because I was inspired by guys like Rooster Teeth. They were making Machinima with like Halo 1.
Right.
And that was before there was even a theater mode. So you had to use another player as the camera. So there would be like
Right.
the gun reticule in the middle of the frame with those early episodes of theirs. And I was like, but it didn't matter. I was fascinated by the idea of making movies with video games. And I was like, shit, I can do that. Like I love make drawing little comics anyway, and like I was animating with these different programs like Flash and stuff, and like I was very a very creative computery person. I was always tinkering with different software and trying to make cool shit. And then I discovered the whole machine cinema thing, and I was like, shit, I can do that. And then I tried it myself. I would make videos with Halo 2, and they were awful, but it was I don't think there's any record of them either. I mean, I didn't upload them somewhere at some point for people to see, but I think they're gone now, but it's not like they're worth seeing anyway. uh but they were I had fun making that stuff, and it's just like a dream for any filmmaker. Like you don't need a budget, you don't need cast, you don't need crew. uh you have this god's eye camera that you can put anywhere. Well, in the case of theater mode anyway, when that came along.
Right.
uh and you can rewind the action and have the exact same action reliably play out every time. I mean, god, if that was a thing in real life, I mean, th- filmmaking would be so much easier, right? Like you wouldn't have to worry about continuity and shit like that as much.
Right.
But it's just it was the perfect thing for lazy filmmakers like me who didn't want to get out of their chair, but they still wanted to make cool shit. It's like, oh, I can write a little story and have these characters talk to each other, and then a car explodes, and that'll be cool. I can film it in a cinematic way. And because in Halo, everybody's wearing helmets, you don't have to worry about any lip syncing issues. You can just have it implied that everybody's talking from underneath their helmets. So that made things easier. And just the way Halo's theater mode controlled, it was very intuitive, and it has this like smoothing effect applied to it that you don't see in a lot of other games with free moving cameras. Like, because a lot of the time it's just like WASD kind of janky looking movement where it's like too sharp. There's no speed curves applied to like the motion of the camera when it stops and moves and stops again, or like punches in to shallow the depth of field. Like it was a very cinematic camera that they introduced in Halo 3, which really helped like make it look cool. So yeah, just I love making movies with video games. It's fun.
We've talked about that before too, how even the Halo 3 theater mode, you feel like you don't see anything like that these days. That's such a powerful tool that they just were like, here, and you guys can also have this as like a toy. And then
Yeah.
you had guys like you come along and we're like, well, I see a lot of potential in this to use it as something else. So it's really cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's still games, including recent Halo games, that are offering like machinima type options. But they're still not as good as Halo 3 or Halo Reach, in my opinion. I just like one of the reasons is just the like I was saying about the way the camera moves.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of took that away in Halo. What am I thinking of? 4 or 5, where all of a sudden the camera movement was a lot sharper. Like there was none of those curves I was talking about, and it just didn't look right. And the armors were different as well. Like Halo,
We've had this
Halo,
conversation too.
Yeah, that's why I
yeah.
laugh.
It's like all of a sudden everybody looks like that guy from Crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Yep.
like sleek super suits, and like the armor permutations in Halo 3 and 4 felt a bit more varied, realistic in a way, grounded, like practical. But then everything turned into like generic space shit with like weird spikes and things on it, like that. It's like, what is that for? That's just there
Right.
to look cool, you know? Yeah, so all things considered, like I consider Halo 3 and Reach to be the best Halo games for making Machinima, and Reach if I had to pick one. And yeah, I'm still making stuff with Reach today.
Yeah, Reach is pretty much where I stopped playing Halo. I played a little bit of Halo 4, had the same feelings. I got into multiplayer and started unlocking armor, and I'm like, well, yeah, this looks a lot different, but for some reason, with all the angles and stuff, it really at a distance looks the same as the other one because it, like you said, it all looks very space-ish, weird stuff.
Yeah, felt like it was a time when all the shooter games were just kind of blending together in this
Mm-hmm.
into this awful blob of sameness. It's like just guys with shields and spacesuits jumping around.
Yeah,
Like there's little distinction between them all, you know.
right. Yeah, Reach is still, I would say, if I had to pick a Halo game that I put the most hours into, it would have been Reach for sure.
Yeah. I don't even mean just Halo either, like Call of Duty as well. Like it started going space and high tech and
Oh,
shit.
absolutely, yeah.
Because like Halo was like dominated online console gaming with Halo 2. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And then, but Call of Duty took that over. And then Halo kind of responded by taking shit from Call of Duty. And then Call of Duty would take some shit from Halo. And then, yeah, they all just kind of blended.
Yeah.
But
We
I think
actually
that kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we had this conversation a little bit before that Halo 2, as far as we've kind of looked up, is sort of the reason that Xbox Live exists, because Bungie insisted on having a way for people to be able to not just have to play, couch co-op against each other. They wanted a way for everyone to play, and kind of paved the way for this online stuff to get started in the first place.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like that's probably, I imagine that is the case. Yeah. Even though when Xbox Live first launched, Halo 2 was still a ways off. Like, because I remember, like, I got Xbox Live and there was no Halo 2 at the time. So I played Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Like,
Okay.
I was super addicted to that game. It was awesome. And then Halo 2 came out finally. But it doesn't surprise me that Microsoft, like, when they first acquired Halo and Bungie, that Bungie would have, well, Microsoft probably would have said, like, can we take this online? Because Halo is like rad, and it's like it's the reason for so many Xbox sales. You
Right.
know,
Well,
it's
and I
like we'd be,
mean, those
yeah.
were the days where I'd be loading up my Xbox and taking it over to my friend's house so 8 of us could play on the same TV or 2 different TVs, because we back in those days you couldn't just plug right into the internet and have it work reliably every single time. So,
No, and getting a big game going was like a very rare special occurrence. I remember it was
yeah.
like I remember it was there was one time we had just the stars aligned and we had a house full of gamers. We had 4 Xboxes
Ooh.
and we had a router in the middle and there were LAN cables everywhere. And it was special because you divide yourself into teams and you'd shake the teams up. You sort of convene in the kitchen and eat pizza between matches, and then
Right.
go off and you meet again. And if you like killed somebody, like sometimes you wouldn't even have to see the tag hover over their head. You could just tell who they were by the way they kind of moved and played. And you would like shoot them, and then you'd hear them cussing from like the other room in the house, and you would get like glee from that in a way that Xbox Live didn't quite replicate,
Yeah.
but it was still amazing when Halo 2 came out.
Right.
And for Xbox Live, that was a blast. So yeah.
When Halo 3, it'd been out for a while. I was actually in the Coast Guard at the time, and I was on a ship, a pretty large ship, and I was glad to find out there was quite a few gamers on there, and we had multiple Xboxes set up around the ship that the IT guys figured out how to link them all together. And
Nice.
so at any given time of the day, on most days, you could go into any different rec room, and there's guys on there playing Halo against the guys at the front of the ship, also in the rec room up there. It was a blast.
Yeah. It's very, yeah, you could either do it like direct system link, or you had to, if you wanted 4 Xboxes, you need to have like a local area network set up.
Yeah, and that's how they had it set up, where we had like 4 different ones set up throughout the ship. It was great.
Right. I remember there was a way to play online with Halo 1. There's like tools you could get for your computer, like Xbox Connect or Xlink Kai, that would take your LAN and make your Xbox think, oh, you would connect to a wide area network, and this tool would make your Xbox think it was on a local area network.
Oh wow.
And it was a way of connecting people through the system link function across the internet. But the problem was it was so fucking laggy most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was no like, it was all like peer to peer. There was no like dedicated servers for this shit. So, but even the laggy games back then, like it was just such a pleasure to like be at home, not necessarily have friends with you, but you could like play with 16 people anyway through this. Like, even though it was super laggy, it was just like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Like, wow, it's like full of people. And you would just pray that it wouldn't lag. Very occasionally you'd get like oh, there's actually very little lag on this. Like, this is actually playable, but those were so few and far between.
Right.
But you would keep trying anyway, because there was no better alternative at the time.
Right. Now that you've kind of wrapped up your Arby and the Cheif stuff, what's you got some plans that are next that you can talk to us about?
Well, I got a whole list of ideas written down for like still Arby and the Cheif, like shorts, like self-contained sort of episodes, kind of like the first seasons.
Right.
But I'm done doing like my long like serialized arcs, because like halfway through Arby and the Cheif, like around season 5, I did like a format change where all of a sudden, like, I was inspired by a lot of episodic television, and I like that form of like building up to cliffhangers and a big finale at the end.
Sure.
And I wanted to do that, and it's like, what if I take what Halo has to offer in terms of like all these action movie assets and like this robust theater mode? Like, what if I just kind of made this an action movie, and that way I could take full advantage of what the game had to offer, but then also like keep it funny like it was as well, and have like an interesting plot with like bad guys. And so that was an interesting turning point for me in terms of like writing stories, and I took screenwriting a lot more seriously at that point. And so I made these like seasons, like season 5, 6, 7, and 8. They all like built up to these big finales and had these big bads, and I really enjoyed that. I felt like I was able to go much deeper in like exploring ideas and characters with that format. But it's such a huge undertaking, especially this last 8th season. It took me a long time to finish it, but I'm really happy with what I did. And now I feel like I've gone as deep as I can with it in terms of like an exploration of good and evil. And now I just want to do fart jokes. So it's like whenever I get an idea for a new short, then I'll just do it, release it as a standalone thing, and there's no obligation to like have like a series of episodes going if I don't have ideas for them. It's just like as ideas come, I'll make a short. Not only that, but like I'll do sketches. I got ideas for like a live action sketch show as well. I'm developing another Machinima series at the moment. Like I did a number of shows for Machinima, and I hate most of them. It's Hard Justice. It's like a cop show done in Halo 3, and it's terrible. But like I want to take that premise and those characters and do like a soft reboot and be like what if I just, knowing all that I know now, what if I took the same premise and characters and just like did it better? And so I'm working on that now, and
Nice.
I'll be doing more like music and stuff. And yeah, so Jon Graham on YouTube, that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I seen too.
that's
You
what I'm
got
working on
a,
now.
you have like is it like a review? Oh man, I was just looking at it.
I forgot
I
about that.
dropped it
Yeah,
down.
Media Abyss.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, Media Biz. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's me alone in a spaceship after the world exploded, and I just review stuff like my favorite media. And I've been wanting to do a show like that for a while, but I spent so much time before then playing satirical characters. Like I was just like, for the longest time, I was just like, I can't just make a video where it's just me talking earnestly about something because that's boring. But then I thought inwardly and thought, well, what is the content I look for? I like listening to people talk candidly about, without any kind of satire, who are knowledgeable about things that they care about. So why wouldn't my audience like that from me? And so I decided, and I would actually like to do that. So whatever, I'll record an episode and see if people like it. And they did. I just got to make another one, but I've got so many plates spinning
Sure.
at the same time. I kind of like it that way though, because it keeps me from getting tunnel vision, keeps me from procrastinating, because I always have another project to jump to if I get bogged down in one, you know. Yeah, so that's another thing I'm working on. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot.
No, that's cool, man. And then you have a podcast that you do sometimes, right? On your own?
Yeah, I did 50 episodes, but I haven't streamed. Well, I did a stream for my finale, but I haven't done one of those podcasts in years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I had that. I had it downloaded, and I was listening to a couple of years that you did.
It's cringe. Don't. It's all cringe. Everything I've made before today is cringe.
That's perfect, man. No, that's why we wanted you here. We love it.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
It doesn't sound like you have a whole lot of downtime, but in your downtime, what games are you playing these days?
I do make time for games. Like I've realized that I need it sometimes. Like there are stretches of time where like I just work nonstop and I get like kind of bogged down, and I get like unproductive sometimes until like I just decide, you know what, I'm just gonna play games all day today. And like I won't even go to the bathroom or eat. I'll just play video games. And that kind of like, it scratches an itch that, you know, after it's done, it's just like, okay, I'm all gamed out now, and all of a sudden I'm like super productive. Like I feel like supercharged, and then I can go back to whatever my project was. And it's like if I play something like a Souls game and get fucking infuriated, it's like you sort of forget everything else, and like you're so caught up in like the anger of the game, and it's like you can go back to your project with fresh eyes, and then all of a sudden you're coming up with new ideas that you weren't before, because your brain is just kind of, I don't know, it's like electroshock therapy or something. It's just like gives you a kick in the ass, and then all of a sudden you feel rejuvenated.
Sure.
So yeah, I make time for games now. And what am I playing? I've finally finished my Doom Eternal file.
Oh yeah.
Uh and what else? I'm playing some Death Stranding right now. I'm quite liking it. It's relaxing. Um Metal Gear 5 as well. I'll pick that up again. I play it on my Steam Deck. It's cool. It's cool that the Steam Deck gives you gyro for so many like games. Like anything that takes mouse input, like you can aim around with the gyroscope with the Steam Deck, and all of
Oh
a sudden
wow.
it opens up your whole past library to like replaying with this cool functionality all of a sudden. So that's really fun. Like playing Dead Space on my Steam Deck with the gyro controls is fucking awesome. Just being able to aim around like that. It's fun.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't realize the Steam Deck had that. I've been toying with the idea of getting one. I just haven't pulled the trigger on that.
Oh, I love it, man. It's great. It's like greatest piece of gaming hardware I've ever bought, probably.
Nice.
Okay.
It's
I
like so comfortable to hold, and just the amount of customization. It's crazy.
That's cool. I have a feeling my kids would get a hold of it, and then that'd be the game over for me.
Yeah. Well, you can put a lock screen on it, keep your kids locked out of it.
Doesn't keep the hammer away though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, is they don't know when to, because they're pretty young still, and they know that I play on my computer, and they have a Switch, like they're spoiled rotten. But
Mhm.
for some reason, they always want to play like on my laptop and play games on my Steam on my laptop and stuff. And so I have a feeling if I had a Steam Deck, they'd be like, "Hey, this has all the same games as the computer. Why can't I play it too?"
Yeah.
So I don't even want to go down that road right now.
That's hilarious.
It's funny you said Souls game, because I recently, for some reason, decided to fire up Dark Souls 2.
Mhm.
And put myself through that torture for some reason. I don't even know why.
They are very frustrating, those games.
Well, especially Dark Souls 2. That, yeah, we have a lot of things that we refer to as the Dark Souls 2 of stuff, because
Yeah.
it stands out like a sore thumb in the series.
Right. Yeah. I'm playing Elden Ring, and that's giving me a hard time as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I
What a
feel like
good
I
game though.
just suck. Yeah, it's terrific. I mean, it's like it's so, like such a love-hate thing. So I'm like
Yeah.
fascinated by the design and the world and everything, but it's like some of the bosses are so fucking frustrating, and it's just like I don't know if this is hard or I just like suck at video games now, because I think the latter is largely true. Like I find with a lot of games, it's like I got to put it on like easy mode or whatever just to not like fucking lose my shit. Like uh the Witcher example, like I was on like normal or whatever, and I was getting my ass kicked. And I'm like, I want to get on with the story, god damn it. Like, because I'm invested in the characters and shit. I don't want to get bogged down playing the same fucking boss for the next 5 years. Like I get mad like that about the Souls games, It's just like, God, there's so much here, but I feel like I'm walled off from all of it,
Right.
from like fully enjoying it. I'm not one of these types who thinks like, it should be mandated that there's an easy mode or whatever. But I'm just saying, if there was an easy mode offered in the Souls games, I would take that up, and just play that just to get through it, and
Right.
appreciate the story.
See, I like to go through and just play through the game, and then I go back and watch YouTubers who do all the story stuff, because yeah, I can't get focused on the story, because yeah, I'm too worried about actually focusing on beating the game, because I also feel like sometimes I'm like, I don't understand. I used to be so good at all of these games. What is going on? Why can't I do this?
Oh yeah, I used to be killer at Halo. I mean, I would make like no scope montages and shit
Oh shit.
with the sniper rifle. Like I was very good at that. But then now that's all gone. I can't do that shit anymore. It's sad.
I'm sure we're considered old gamers. I'm the exact same age as you, so I'm sure we're considered old gamers for sure.
I guess, yeah. My first console was Sega Genesis.
Oh yeah.
Sonic 2, that was probably the first thing I played.
We had a Nintendo, an original Nintendo, but that's just because our dad had that. So I played Mario on that way back in the day.
Mm.
And that was my introduction to gaming when I was whatever 4 years old or something like that. So
Yeah.
We had a Genesis too.
we also
Sometimes
had
he
that.
would bust the Atari out.
Yep, had an Atari in our house.
Nice.
We pretty much had
Yeah.
every rendition of console up until like we didn't have a PlayStation 3. We had the 360. And then about the 360 was when I moved out of the house. So then I was out on my own and I went PC gaming pretty much after that.
Yeah, it feels like all roads are kind of going into that now. Like PC. Like I'm just gonna focus on that now. Like I'm kind of done with consoles. Like when PS5 came out, I was like, who gives a shit? I got a
But
cool PC with this cool graphics card. Like I can get, I mean, eventually Sony's putting all their stuff on Steam anyway. So, I mean, the exclusivity thing, it's like, sure, you know, you can only play Spider-Man 2 or, the new God of War for like a year on PS5, but eventually it'll come to Steam. So I'll just wait for that.
right. Yeah, I mean, and that's I feel the same way is because you spend all this money on this console, and yeah, the console is probably a really nice piece of hardware as soon as it comes out, but every single year all the PC stuff is being upgraded. So, I'd rather save the money and like you said, new graphics card or new, better motherboard, what have you. So,
Yeah. It's like every year there's like a new gen of fucking graphics cards. Like this next year there's going to be a 5000 series or whatever,
right.
probably. And so I don't focus on getting the newest prettiest thing. I'm just like, what do I what would make me happy? Like I just want to play things at 1080p with 60 frames per second, and that's good enough for me. So then I shopped around. I recently got like a 3060 graphics card, NVIDIA, and I posted on Twitter, and then somebody replied like, imagine posting this as if it's a flex. I'm I'm just like, dude, I shopped around for a good deal and it gave me like what I wanted. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Is it only cool if I get the latest, coolest one? You fucking idiot.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. No, I fully feel you on that. And because I recently upgraded my PC, but I only did it because I had the money to do it. I honestly didn't even have to because I'm just like you. I play 1080p, 60 FPS. That's the maximum for me. I'm not worried about 4K, 144 hertz, whatever. I'm pretty
Yeah.
simple when it comes to that.
Yeah. It's like anything below 60, people fucking projectile vomit everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, it's not that bad. I don't even give a fuck about ray tracing, but I can still even enable that on the graphics card that I have now. Like, and run it at 1080p, and it looks great. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that'll probably last me for a few years at the very least.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's if I can get a couple years out of the stuff. I mean, that's all I care about. And actually, because I upgraded my stuff and Bo's PC recently quit, I'm going to give him all my old stuff so he can at least start gaming again.
nice.
We started doing a kind of gaming spin-off on our podcast because initially that when we were talking about doing a podcast, we were like, okay, what is a common thing that we like to do? And obviously playing games was the first thing that came up, but we were like, yeah, but everybody's playing games. Like,
yeah,
everybody fucking does that. Everybody records themselves. And the only thing people watch anymore, it seems like, is if you're playing fucking Minecraft and you're targeting kids, that's, and we were like, we don't want to just be cookie cutter doing what everybody else is doing. So we started off with the audiobook stuff. and we kind of moved into a little bit. We also have like a spin-off anime series that we talk about. And we were going to do video games, and we did one before Bo's PC quit. So that was as far as we made it. But at some point, it's also something we would like to talk about because, yeah, we're also very passionate about it still. So
Good for you guys. That's awesome. And that's the key, man, is making shit that you care about. I mean, I I don't like it when content creators, they're so obsessed with the numbers of it all. It's like not even about the content for them. It's
yeah,
just like, how do I get X amount of subs? Like I remember I went to this party one time and I talked to this guy. He said he was a SoundCloud rapper. And and I mean, like, if he's making cool shit on there, I mean, that's fine. But like, he at no point did he talk about his music creation process or what he likes about music or his favorite music or what the kind of music he does. It was all just the numbers. Like I gotta get my numbers up and like just the analytics of it. And and I he asked what I did. And I told him I was on YouTube, and he said, "How many subs do you have?" Like that was his first question. Nothing about like the content. It's just
right.
like what. I'm just like, I don't like 80,000 at the time, and he was like blown away. He couldn't believe that. And I mean, I guess it is. I mean, I'm very happy with the numbers I've amassed, but like you the content comes first. Like you make something you really care about, even if it's dumb. Like if you like just if you're passionate about it, or you make something really funny. Like because when I'm making my Arby and the Cheif stuff, I'm always trying to make myself laugh. And then I get excited when I write it in a script because I'm just like, oh, other people will probably dig this because I think this is really funny. And then I get a thrill from getting like comments and stuff. And if you handle that side of it, the numbers I feel take care of themselves most of the time. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you do have to be lucky in this industry as well. Like I lucked out in the beginning with Master Chief Sucks at Halo. Like whatever, like the thing I made just happened to fill a gap at the time of shit people were looking for on YouTube. Because a lot of YouTube stuff back then was just like home videos, pet videos, you know.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't a whole lot of like scripted content, you know. So I was like,
Yeah.
what if I like wrote something and like cut a little story together? Because I mean, there is a story to Master Chief Sucks at Halo, as simple as it is, but it's like, he comes to life, finds the game disc, put it's like the second act, the third act off, and like being angry about it, and then there's like a cliffhanger showing that Halo 3 is about to come out. Like there's a structure to it. I think that appealed to people, and also it was like live action toys that were alive, but it was like Toy Story in a way, but it was like an R-rated Toy Story because of
Yeah.
the language. Like it was an interesting mix of ingredients that really appealed to people at the time. And it's a mixture of luck, it's a mixture of, you know, dare I say, skill on my part. Like I was able to mixture both. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, for
if
sure.
you just make shit you care about, the numbers will take care of themselves. That's the point that I wanted to get across. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and we've had that conversation before because we're like, well, what can we do to make this more popular? And then we realize we're like, well, we don't really give a shit about that. Like the whole
Yeah.
reason we kind of started the podcast is because these were conversations we were probably going to have anyways. So now
Yeah.
we just record them. And we're like, if people want to hear it, great. If they don't, well, there's plenty of other stuff they can listen to. So,
Right. And people like they zero in on that. Like if you care about something, like the people appreciate that. They see that in your work. I think it's pretty easy to tell who's just chasing views, you
yeah,
know?
I get very tired these days. I watch a lot of like woodworking stuff on YouTube, and I'll stumble across a channel that might be newer, And it seems like inevitably within a month or two of me finding it, they put out some video about this is how I went from 0 to 100,000 subs in 6 months. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, great. You're just one of those. Like, you just followed a formula to make your channel work. So, congratulations.
Yeah.
Then I usually unsubscribe because I'm like, I'm not that interested anymore now in you talking about how much money you made last year from YouTube. Like,
Yeah. It's dumb, the mindset some people have. I mean, the thing with what I do is even if I wasn't getting paid, I would still be making shit anyway. Like I just like the process. I like making something I have complete creative control over, putting it out there, getting feedback on it, like getting the sense that people actually enjoy it, that like I made people happy. Like it makes me feel like I have purpose, you know?
yeah, man. No, and that's inspiring to hear because of that. And I think it is clear in your work for anybody who watches it that it is obviously something you love to do. Like that does come
Yeah.
across.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really tried too. Like I put, especially when season 5 came along, a lot of people said I was like jumping the shark because it was like a format change, and all of a sudden things got like there was like drama, and plot and stuff on a scale that wasn't seen before. And I was like, this is like an action movie now. What the fuck are you doing? This is like it's like toys fucking swearing at each other. Come on, just give us more of that. And I was like, yeah, well, it still is that, but I just want to go deeper with it and like treat it as if it was a real, like that fascinated me. Like if there were toys alive, what would they actually say? Like what how would they actually act? What conclusions would they come to? And then I used that as like an exploration of my own depression and feelings at the time, because I had a pretty rough 20s. My 20s were rough in terms of like mental health, and was struggling with a lot of feelings and ideas, and my writing was sort of therapeutic, and I was able to explore that through the Arbiter character to a degree, because Cheif is like he's just happy to be alive to play Halo, and if he has Halo then he's content. But Arbiter is just like, come on dude, why are we here? This is
Right.
ridiculous. Yeah. And it's just like what is my purpose? And then I like that would drive a person crazy if their existence made no sense. So I'm like, what if this is actually real? Like the toll this would take on like a person. Like that, I explored that because that was really interesting. And a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, relative to the numbers I was getting in the beginning, like there was a big viewer drop off. I mean, it was partly my fault, partly Machinima's fault. Because oh god, I have this other thing I should say. Like at I did 3 seasons of Arby and the Cheif at Machinima, right?
Mhm.
And then I was burned out and I wanted a break. And but at that point they didn't want to stop the Arby and the Cheif train. They wanted more episodes. But my producer at the time was also, he knew I was doing a good job for them and making them a lot of money. So they gave me the time off, but they wanted to keep the show going, and they decided to produce a season in house. Like they would do it. Like it was a disaster. It
Oh,
was called
wow.
Arby and the Cheif in LA. You can find it on YouTube somewhere, but it's like the scripts were written by my producer, who I don't even think had screenwriting experience. They bought the action figures on their end. They got one of their staff to be camera operator, and they went out in like the streets of LA and shot it, or like interiors. It wasn't all outdoors, but like just everything about it was wrong and off. The writing was terrible. The producer was a good guy, but I think like he was in an awkward position where the like there just wasn't anyone else lined up to write the scripts, and he was in this weird position where he wanted to give me the time off that I wanted, but he wanted to please his superiors, who just demanded that there was more Arby episodes. So I guess he just decided, well, I don't know anyone else I can delegate the writing to, so I'll just do it. And it just turned out shit.
It was probably gun to his head. We got to keep this going, man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So a few episodes came out. Like the first episode was like dislike bombed. Everybody
Oh
hated it.
wow.
And I remember I got this real sinking feeling at the time, going like, "Oh God, what have I done? This is what I get for taking a break." you know.
Dang.
And you just watching this thing, I worked really hard on the reputation for it. Just it's like setting a match to it and just watching it go up in flames. And they were like, and they Machinima saw how badly it was being received, so they came to me and they said, "Well, can you at least approve the scripts?" I was like, "Okay," and then they sent me the scripts, and there's so much wrong with them. It's like I don't even know where to start, giving feedback. It's just like how do I tell this guy how to write? Let alone for these characters. Like it's just he didn't really have like a sense of structure or drama or suspense. Like you can't just teach someone that over email.
Right.
Like so eventually I was just like, yeah, go ahead, make that, I guess. Because I still wanted time off. Wasn't ready to go back to it. But then they were making more episodes and they all just sucked. But eventually I did take over the writing process of it alone and they handled everything else. But my heart just wasn't in it because like they had planted all these seeds for that season that I then had to work with and do something with. And I was just like, this is all stupid. I don't know where to bring all of this. And so like I wrote my way half-heartedly to the finish line. And then I was like, well, that was fucking lame. And I felt
Oh
bad.
yeah.
And then I said, look, I'm ready to like take back the reins now. Like I'll just do everything again. And I was quite happy to do it at that point. Because I had some time off to think and get some ideas. And I made season 4 and then I won my audience back basically. And so that was, but I think like part of the big viewer drop off at that point was due to that abysmal season. So
Wow.
like it was partly them. That's why I say it was partly them, partly me for like the dwindling of viewership. And also because I think everybody's attention is being divided into other things. Like Halo wasn't the powerhouse that it used to be
Sure.
when I started. Um, but yeah, I'm glad that's over, and I know not to do that again. To
No
hand
kidding.
over production to another team like that. Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I was clearing my throat. I had my mic
Oh no,
muted.
you're good.
Bo, you got some questions? I feel like I've been taking the reins on this one.
No, that's okay. I've just been happy to listen to you guys talk. Did you have any ideas that you like you scrapped because they were like too hard to make, but you're like still in love with the concept?
um, I was always pretty good at like um keeping things small scale and low budget or like zero budget. uh and like the fact that I was telling a story about toys made that really easy, because everything could be like shrinked down to their sort of scale in a way in a way that I could easily afford. Um like what's a good example? Um well, just the fact that they're so small, it's like my bedroom is like a world to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so all I have to do is just wander around my own room, just filming different camera angles, and then all of a sudden it's like a movie. It's like Toy Story, where like so much can happen in just Andy's bedroom. You know, in terms of ideas that I couldn't accomplish, I don't know. Like I don't have any regrets or things that I didn't end up doing because it was like because I did Arby and the Chief the movie, and I did stuff with like my car and like
Mm-hmm.
outdoor stuff, like driving around. And So I was still able to do stuff like that. Like anything that required like visual effects of some kind, I always found a way to do it in like a cheap way. Like in a episode I made recently, I had a grenade go off, and it really wasn't hard to implement it. Like I just bought a toy grenade out of a store, like a prop store. It's like a few dollars. And then for the explosion effect, I mean, if you know what you're doing with the Adobe suite, it's like easy to just like you just get like an explosion pack off the internet, and you just apply everything in layers, like the fire, the smoke, the blood, and then you put a little screen shake on it. And like if you know how something should look, and you know how to divide it all into layers in your brain in a way that you can implement in like Adobe Premiere or After Effects, like you can pull off pretty much anything now. So it doesn't feel to me like anything is like out of range. Like I would love to make like a feature horror movie or something like that,
Ooh.
with like a proper like cast and a budget, like a real movie uh eventually. But right now I'm just content making sketches and dumb shit in my room, within the confines of my room. And yeah, this whatever grand idea I have, I always find a way to kind of shrink it down to like a achievable scale. So I don't think I have any like there's no ideas that I regret not ever having pulled off because I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like I always felt like I could find a way to pull off whatever idea that I had.
Yeah, it seems like you're very, very crafty, and I really respect that.
Yeah, and thanks. And it's a lot of it's so easily done too. Like it's just the fact that to achieve the illusion of motion, I just have like whenever the toys are stationary, I do wide shots. And then whenever they're moving around, it's always I always shoot them from the waist up. So I have a hand around their legs, and that's how I'm puppeteering them. And then if I want one of the toys climbing up a shelf, for example, I'll just like position the action figure so it's holding its arms out in front of it, and then put the hands of the figure on the thing that it's climbing, and then yank down on the figure so the arms get sort of dragged upwards. And then I in post I just reverse that footage,
Oh yeah, so good.
and then it looks like they're
Genius.
climbing up. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to do. And there I get comments like, how did he do that? It looks seamless. Like, dude, it's so fucking easy. You just it's like a magic trick where once you explain it, it's just like, oh, that's it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, dude, like you just have to know these things, just like play around, be creative. Like you can probably find a way to pull off what it is you want. I mean, like in my case, it's easier because, like I said, everything's shrunk down to the scale of like toys. But people should just be more creative with their videos. I think.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. All of that you were saying, I feel like more people should hear that, because the reliance these days obviously is, oh, let's just CG it, let's just throw
Yeah.
some CG in there and some fake stuff. It's like you could probably achieve something much more grounded and entertaining if you just thought a few more seconds about a way to make it creative, and
Right.
not go straight to the let's throw a bunch of money in CG at this thing instead.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like I think everybody loves practical effects,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
even if it doesn't look good. Like people will appreciate the effort of you having like actually made a prosthetic thing with like if it's like a horror movie, for example, like creepy slimy goo all over
Yeah.
it. Like that's shit's awesome, like whatever it is when it's done practically. And people know if it's CGI. I mean, unless you're like James Cameron where it's like super next level CGI, like with this new Avatar movie, which I'm told is quite impressive in terms of CGI. It's still to a point, I'm still like, "Oh, whatever. It's still like computers.
yeah.
I don't care that much. But like, I'm always down for like a practical effects, like B horror movie, like creature effects and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. Like The Thing is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's, what's that? John Carpenter.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
unfortunately haven't. I really want to watch it because I've heard it is one of the best as far as practical effects and storytelling all combined into one.
Oh yeah, and it's like really good practical effects.
Right.
And they do the same sort of simple shit with like reverse footage and stuff like that. You know, like reversing footage can take you a long way if you do it right.
Right. That's have you seen Orgasmo?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard for us to find anyone else who's seen the movie.
Oh, I love Orgasmo, man. It's
Okay,
awesome.
good. We do too. Um, I just because it makes me think of that when he freaking wraps him up when he shoots the whatever out of the dildo that wraps the guys in string,
yeah.
and it's pretty obviously a shot that they just played backwards, but it almost adds to the humor of the shot too, that it looks a little goofy in a way.
Yes, I
And
agree.
and then they just roll with it because
Mhm.
the whole point is for it to still be funny. So it doesn't matter if it looks perfect or not. They just roll with it.
Yeah. It's so like, and there's ways to like, you can have your actors move in such a way to compensate for the fact that you know you're going to reverse the footage, so you can have them like move their body in such a way where it won't look as awkward once
Right.
the footage is reversed. Like you can do things like that that don't cost anything in terms of budget.
Sure.
Like there's I feel like there's always a zero budget way to like figure something out, you know. Like that's always a fun challenge with Arby and the Cheif. It like forces me to be creative because I think limitations go a long way to like squeezing ideas out of people, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I recently watched a little documentary on YouTube about Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo and how like the limitations on the hardware. I mean, when this console came out, it was like cutting edge at the time, obviously, but like Nintendo was aware of the limitations and they packed as much as they could knowing the finite amount of resources. But nowadays it's like developers are spoiled because the bottlenecks are gone in terms of like rendering shit. I mean, you can like do anything now.
Right.
Like these consoles are so fucking powerful now. Like back then it was just like processing power was like measured in hertz, but now it's like everything's gigahertz. It's just like graphical fidelity. I mean, you can make a game like Breath of the Wild where you can look off and almost to like an infinite degree in any direction and know that that's all geometry that you can like travel to in like with no loading zones. I mean, there's no limits anymore.
Right.
So I think that actually has a negative effect on creativity, you know.
It I just going off of that too, I think there's something to be said for the fact that so many developers know they can fix things after the fact too.
Oh
That
yeah,
we get a lot of
Yeah.
very half-ass games released
right.
because they know they can fix it, and then luckily we still see some companies like Dice get bit in the ass for releasing Battlefield 2042 in a state of incompleteness,
Yeah,
and this time it really did bite them in the ass, unlike previous Battlefield games.
right. And with like filmmaking as well. I mean, going off of film reels onto like digital recordings where you could like scrub a memory card and just start over.
Right.
I mean, that's insane. Like compared to how like precious film was
Yeah.
back then, where it's like, okay, we got this much film left. We cannot fuck up this take. Okay, action. It's like
Yeah.
nowadays, it's like, yeah, we screwed up. No big deal. Let's just do it again
Right.
and again and again and again. And there's like that potential lack of discipline, you
Sure.
know, where it's just like, oh, we can fuck up as many times as we want and it doesn't matter. So I think that can like slow things down a little bit, you know, and people aren't quite as sharp and on their game as they would be had were the resources finite like they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for that, especially in as far as creative terms go. Because like you said, you're working in the confines of what you have, which forces you to, forces your creative juices to flow. Whereas some of these big budget companies, they don't, there's probably very little creativity going because yeah, they're like, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We can just fix it all later anyways if we have to.
I fucking hate Hollywood. I mean, the way they the way they make videos, it's literally the norm for them to like start shooting without a script.
Right.
It's
What?
like that's just how it's done there. Or like with a partial script.
Sure.
It's just like, oh, whatever, we'll figure it out as we go.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
wild.
and it's like,
How is that possible?
oh, look, I remember James Gunn was complaining about it recently. He was just like, that's just the way they like to do things. Like they'll hire a screenwriter, but they won't wait until there's a polished draft before they start shooting. They'll just like start shooting ASAP and then just hope that the script gets done in time. And it just
Wow.
muddies up the production, because all of a sudden there's rewrites, and then some people don't get informed that they don't have the latest draft, and it's like, what is this new dialogue? What are we shooting today? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Oh my gosh.
Like, this would all be resolved if these companies would just wait until it was like there was like a polished script. I mean, thankfully some of them do. Like directors like David Fincher, he's a favorite of mine. Like, treats his scripts like gospel. Like, the script has to be done and finished, and he goes through it with a fine-tooth comb, and then he shoots, when he knows exactly what he's doing.
Right.
There's
And
none of
it's,
this like making shit up on the fly.
yeah, and it's good that there are a couple of people who carry on that torch of like I really enjoy any of Guillermo del Toro's work
Mhm.
because he seems to do that as well. I mean, I don't necessarily know that that's the case, but a lot of his stuff seems completed, as well as it also, I like the fact that he combines practical and CG in a very seamless way, that it's not distracting like a lot of the other movies do.
Yeah, some people find a great use of CGI. It certainly has its utility. I love it when it's used as like when you need to make fine adjustments to make something look real.
Sure.
Like you do things as practical as you can. You do everything practical if you can, but then if something needs a little tweaking in post because there's no other way to fix it, then do that. And it probably actually might still look real because it looks like a practical shot that's augmented rather than like there's a bunch of CGI shots where, because it's like a VFX shot, they can put the camera anywhere. So it's like the camera's doing all these like floaty moves and going through walls and shit. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, this is obviously a VFX shot. But like, there's no illusion here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if
Yeah.
you had filmed this in a practical way, but then augmented it with CGI, you would do a much better job fooling me. Where it's just like, oh my God, is that real? Like, sometimes it can be hard to tell sometimes if you do it like that. That's the proper way to use CGI, I think. I mean, it depends on the case. I mean, you have CGI movies like Toy Story, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I like when there's I don't like it when it's like used as a crutch.
Well, and that's, I mean, I've never really been into like superhero movies, but anytime people talk about these superhero movies, I'm like, oh, you mean the fully green screen CG movies that come out these days? Because
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, even you can see all these behind the scenes shots where it's literally just a bunch of actors in green suits in front of a green screen, so that all they're getting is the face. That's it. It's the only real thing about the whole shot. I'm
Yeah.
like, how is that interesting?
It's sad. And
Yeah,
technology's getting in the way too, where like you have like remote directing, for instance. I
oh
remember
my
like
gosh.
Taika Waititi put out some BTS of the last thing he worked on, or one of the recent things he worked on, where he wasn't even on set. He's just like directing through Zoom, you know?
What?
Yeah. It's like he's not even there. He's like giving
Oh.
direction online. I'm just like, oh my God, like, just go to the fucking set. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I always think about that, like, You ever see that Hobbit BTS footage where Ian McKellen's crying because he's in the green screen box and he's not talking with any other actors? It's like machines, like C stands with like actors' heads taped on, like pictures of their heads taped on for him to
Wow.
look at. And Ian McKellen is supposed to like look at these faces, like cutout faces, literally, like from a magazine. And he's supposed to like act genuinely and pretend like he's actually talking to these people. And like there's footage of him. I don't know if there's footage, but there's certainly like stills of him, and the story leaked where he was just breaking down crying because he's like, this isn't what I started acting for. I'm not making fun of him. It's just so funny. Like,
No, but
someone of his prestige, it's
Right.
just like, this is what he has to do now to like make something cool. Like, it's just such a, all the magic of filmmaking. If I mean, for all the CGI magic, all the practical magic is just sucked out of the room to the
Sure.
point where it's like barely a pleasurable experience. Well, maybe it shouldn't be. There's an argument where like if you're having too much fun making a movie, it's not fun to watch. I don't know if I believe that.
I don't know if that's true.
No, me neither. Yeah. But like I just felt so bad for him. And it's like, yeah, you want to be there with other people in the room to like bounce your emotions off of.
Yeah.
And you want to be in a living, breathing space that has like character to it, and props that you can feel, and all of that stuff is important. All that practical kind of stuff. If you just CGI everything out of laziness, that's just, oh my god. Like,
yeah, and I mean, I know there's got to be a lot to be said for these CG, artists who can make some of this stuff that looks very real, but you can't ever take away the fact that what was special in the original Jurassic Park was the fact that they took the time to build a full-size T-Rex head to have people interact with. I mean,
yeah,
they took that extra step because they knew that would get the reaction out of the actors that the new movies don't, because they're reacting, like you said, to a guy in a green suit holding a fucking dinosaur head up on a broomstick so they can
Yeah.
look at the right height. I
Right.
mean, those two things are very obvious to see anymore.
Yeah. Jurassic Park is an interesting example because like that was one of the breakthrough moments in CGI. Because originally they were going to do the dinosaurs all stop motion.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, including like the big dinosaur shots,
Right.
like when the T-Rex is flipping the Jeep over and shit, chasing the cars. That was all supposed to be stop motion. But then there's just like this one guy who did a CGI dinosaur. He wasn't supposed to. He like went against the rules, against what he was told, and he did it anyway. He built
Right.
this like skeleton and this rig and this animation. And then Kathleen Kennedy saw it and she was like, "Oh wow, that's actually really good. Let's do this instead." And then they went that way, and that was like a trendsetter. It's like, oh, let's do everything like this now.
Right. Yeah, people
this,
yeah. They went the full extreme though when they realized they could use it.
mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think I saw the same thing maybe that you're talking about. And the issue they were having with the guy doing the stop motion is at the time, there was still no way of getting the stop motion perfectly smooth. Like it still kind of looked like those old school movies where it's still a little bit janky. And so, yeah, everybody was kind of on the fence about that anyways, because it just didn't quite look right, no matter how the guy rendered it in the end.
yeah, this looks a bit like King Kong, right? Where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super choppy.
Right.
I think a lot of that is the lack of motion blur, I think.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
And you can easily do that with CGI, right?
Right.
But with like, how do you do it with stop motion? You really can't.
Right.
That's kind of one of the appeals of stop motion, is it has that quality to it that looks, it gives it that choppiness.
Right.
How are you supposed to blend motion between still images? Well, you know what I mean, right? Where like stop motion, it's like so so much labor involved in just taking a single still, and then there's a lot of time that passes between being able to take the next snapshot, because there's a lot of setup, like repositioning all the, like finally positioning all the figures and stuff.
Sure.
You can't really have organic motion blur in there. So I wonder how I would feel about Jurassic Park if they went the stop motion route, because I think they did a really good job of the CGI in that movie. It still looks great.
Yeah, absolutely. To this day, it still holds up.
And it was used in the right way. You know, it wasn't a crutch. It was like an appropriate mixture of practical and VFX.
Sure.
Yeah.
The only stop motion I can think of anymore these days is that new Pinocchio movie that Guillermo del Toro just released on Netflix recently.
I haven't seen that, but I'm looking forward to it. It looks good.
It's, yeah. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of stop motion. I always think that is a very, very interesting art form that people use. And so when it's used like it is in that movie, I'm blown away by that.
Yeah. I just watched Disney's Pinocchio, and I thought that was a big pile of dog shit. So it'll be nice to wash the taste out of my mouth, so to speak, with a proper Pinocchio movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Del Toro one for sure.
Right on. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
You ever think if you were given the opportunity to move into something Hollywood based, you would take that, knowing what you know about Hollywood?
No, really. I don't. Like I mean, I looked up to Hollywood in the past.
Sure.
Because I was just like, I love movies, and Hollywood makes movies, therefore Hollywood equals good. And then more and more stories come out about these studios, and you know how executives operate, and that whole world, the celebrity culture. It's all kind of bullshit. And I value my independence as a content creator more than ever. You know, I like not being under anybody's thumb telling me like how to make my shit. I like it's like I have complete creative control, and I don't need a middleman to distribute my content. I mean, like you can reach an audience without a network now.
Right.
I mean, the means are there. Like never ceases to amaze me that I can make something and just upload it, and then my fans have, like, not in every case, but they'll probably have some kind of home theater system, and they just cast my work on their big screen and watch it like it's a movie, and I can have a huge effect on them without my content being like facilitated through a big studio. Like, you don't have to work for fucking Fox or Warner Brothers to make something cool and have an impact on people. Like, it's just not necessary anymore. It used to be, like, if you wanted to play with a camera and make a movie that would be seen in like the 1930s or whatever, you know, you had to have some kind of studio agreement. But it's a different world now. It's a very exciting time for content creators.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I just wish I saw more creativity overall from people, you know.
Right.
Like, try writing something. I always tell people, like, have you ever tried creative writing? Like, maybe you're not good at it, but you won't know until you like fuck around and you know, just even if it sucks, just like try and make something. Maybe you like it, and even if the thing that you make is lame, you can, like, if you enjoy the process, then you can learn from it and get better.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I wish more people would just like try making something cool.
Yeah. And it's good to hear from somebody who is a, you know, content creator like you are, because I feel like that is mostly all you see these days is people that are they're just chasing the numbers. It's not about the creativity. It's about, okay, what can I do that will, you know, incite the most views, even if that's not even something they enjoy doing. They'll run with that, and I think that that's sad.
Yeah, it's such a shallow ambition. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember that was a thing with Machinima. Like one of the times I went over to their offices, they had a poster on their wall. It had the Machinima logo on it against a white background, and it said Machinima. And in the bottom in bold letters, it said 1 billion views. And that was it. That was the poster that they had hung up. And I'm like,
Nice.
that's it, huh? What 1 billion view, all we want is views. And the thing with views is that you don't have to make something cool or respectable to get views. You can make something horrific or do something
Yeah.
horrific and get views.
Yeah.
You know, like where is the pride in views alone?
Right. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
It's just like, what are we celebrating here?
Sure.
It's like that was a mask off moment, you know, in regard to like that company's outlook, because that was really all they cared about in the end, was
Sure.
getting views, getting money, getting ad revenue. I don't think they gave a fucking rat's ass about machine cinema or anything like that.
Right.
If you can call machine cinema an art form, because like, I mean, I don't even know if it is an art form. People like fans of mine would call my content art, but like, I don't know. It's just like making something with video games. It feels just kind of cobbled together in a way that it doesn't feel artistic, like painting a painting, you know. It's just like it feels relatively like crude and stupid to like have an Xbox with 4 controllers and I'm operating like 2 or 4 thumbsticks simultaneously to get characters moving on the screen. Like it all feels kind of juvenile in comparison, but whatever. Then people like the end product, so I'm happy about that.
Well, exactly. No, and I think that's good, man, that you've stuck to your guns for as long as you have, that's what you enjoy doing, so that's what you're gonna make. I mean, obviously we'd be having, or we might not even be having a conversation if you had made, like, maybe you made a whatever Halo montage and that's what got popular, so you said, "Oh, well, fuck doing all this work to make these, these toys do this stuff. It's way easier to just sit here and play Halo and record myself doing it." So,
Yeah, it's funny. I would much rather keep doing what I'm doing than become like a Twitch streamer,
right.
because like I think that job is harder than it looks.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Like you're sitting in the same chair for like 8 hours a day. Your ass gets sore. You get bored of the game you're playing. You can't even really focus on it because you've got a ring light in your face and a fucking chat going a million miles an hour. And like, I don't know how these. It's like, I, whenever I can't even like. It's also hard to split your attention,
Sure.
you know, and like play the game and also engage an audience at the same time. Unless you're like a speed runner and you don't give a fuck about what they're saying in the chat and you're just like
Yeah.
focusing on the game itself and that's the point. Just like sure, but like I don't know how some of these streamers they like answer questions thoughtfully while at the same time playing something like Dark Souls or something and like dodging all the attacks. Like how the fuck are you doing that? Like if I'm streaming a game and I'm thinking about like an answer to a question, my character's like running around in circles on the screen and just like jumping around aimlessly. And I would watch those back after I recorded them and be like, God, this is dog shit. Who would watch this? Like it's just nonsense gameplay. And
Right. Well, I don't really watch like Twitch a whole lot because I lose interest very quickly when some of those guys, when they divert all of their attention to chat. And
yeah,
so now they're not playing the game at all. The reason I came there was to watch them play the game. And now they're not doing anything with the game. They're just addressing all of the things in chat. I lose interest very quickly when that
yeah,
happens.
yeah. It's it's quite a skill, an underrated skill, I think, do to like be engaging on that
Right.
platform because
Yeah.
you
I mean,
really got to stand out.
yeah.
Everybody's on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say props to the guys who have made it work for sure because yeah, it's definitely no small feat now to break out in that on that platform because it is flooded with people.
Right. It's super oversaturated. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of not joyless, but like compared to like making something like Arby and the Cheif or whatever, like it's not nearly as creatively satisfying. Like I would rather write something and shoot it like a movie and cut it together. Like that excites me.
Sure.
And
No, and
yeah,
that there's got to be a lot said for that because yeah, you're putting a lot of heart and soul in the stuff that you do, whereas a lot of these other content creators, like I said, they made one popular Minecraft video, so they're like, well, I gotta play Minecraft now till it's not popular anymore because that's what's making me money. So
yeah. And I don't even mind like that kind of content if it's like, PewDiePie, for example, like he's engaging enough and funny enough that I like watching his videos, even though they're the type of videos where it's like one and done. You just kind of sit down, hit record, do say a few things, and then stop recording, and then that's a video. Like it's disposable.
sure.
But like it's not like I don't respect that kind of content. Like I follow a bunch of creators that do exactly that, and they're
Sure.
very interesting to listen to, and that's fine. Not everybody has to like make a movie or whatever like I do. Um, but I do hate it when it's just their content is completely like lazy and uninspired. It's like you don't even care what you're
Right.
doing. Like, how do you expect other people to care if you don't even care?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't let my kids watch YouTube a whole lot because they're still young, but when I do and I walk out in the living room, I immediately can tell because they obviously like to watch Minecraft stuff. But if I see some dude's face cam in the corner, I'm like, turn this shit off because it's all the same. it's it's all the same. All of these guys with their face cam in the corner for no reason in the
Yeah.
corner of this Minecraft video, it's all the same. Like put it on
Yeah.
something else where that they watch a couple people who like make little stories in Minecraft, and I'd much rather they watch that where there's a little bit of creative aspect behind it.
Yeah. I always found esports really funny because they try to amp it up like it's professional wrestling or something. But like you get none of that obviously because all the gamers are like introverted,
Yeah.
skinny, awkward types. And so there's like you don't get like they try and amp it up like it's wrestling, but like there's none of that shit talking or anything like that. It's all
Right.
just like, I don't know, I just really like this game and I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
For
um
sure.
yeah. So they try and like inject all this artificial energy into it when it's just kind of boring, to be honest.
Right.
I'm not into esports, but it's like so flashy. They try and make it like it's a big deal. Watching people play games, yeah, I don't know. It's just I only do that if it's like speed running or something like that. If there's some kind of utility or amazement in watching whatever it is that's being played. I don't know.
Bo, you used to be big into watching the Dota scene, huh?
Oh yeah, I still watch Dota all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to anyone who like watches that or whatever. Like that's cool. It's just not my thing. I just don't see the thrill.
I think Dota is a better example because at least every Dota game is going to be different. You know,
Mm,
that's definitely one thing I can say as far as those types of games go. I can watch those because they're all going to be different. It's not just going to be some guy like in playing Call of Duty that picks his favorite build
yeah.
and just wrecks everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like these gamers aren't skilled either. I mean, they're fucking amazing. The way they line up headshots and shit, or if it's an RTS, like the way they command all their units like very intelligently, that can be
Yeah.
interesting to watch sometimes, but like it's not quite the same as, a wrestler smashing a chair over somebody's head.
Right. I actually
That-
saw a really interesting article on Reddit. Well, it's not even an article, it was just a post. This guy was playing Tarkov, which I'm not really familiar with the game at all.
Mhm.
But I guess he had over 1,500 hours in the game. Um, whatever, played it a lot. Well, apparently he killed some dude in a match, found out that the guy was like level 53 or something, which apparently in that game is very impressive. Come to find out, the guy he killed was a streamer, a relatively popular streamer who had a direct link to the creators of the game and immediately accused this guy of cheating and got his account banned from the game because he killed him live on stream and he didn't like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So there's something to be said for bullshit like that too that happens.
Oh yeah. I hate it when these streamers get treated like golden geese, you know, when they're pulling in X amount of money for their
Right.
parent company.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're special, so we'll do whatever you want because
Yep.
you're making all this money. And anything they say goes. And it's like they become these spoiled brats.
Yeah, exactly.
These people are looked up to, like role models to a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, where's society going? This is all gonna burn one day.
Yeah, that's a whole topic for another day for sure.
Yeah.
Inevitably, because a lot of times on our podcast, if we don't have anything else to record at the time, just Bo and I will sit down and have a conversation. And usually it devolves into that the world's kind of going to shit. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just happy to be still independent. I own 100% of my channel for as long as YouTube lasts anyway.
yeah.
uh but I'm not affiliated with an MCN or anything. I think they're all bullshit. uh I'm happy still making dumb little videos and putting them out there. I just I got a lot of fulfillment out of that. I mean, I went to film school, and I got a degree and everything, Bachelor of Fine Arts in Motion Picture Production. I've worked film gigs, professional and amateur, like student films, amateur productions outside of school. I've worked on like shows and movies, and none of it has come close in terms of like creative satisfaction to making YouTube stuff.
Nice.
I always gravitate to that because I mean, these people I know who work on films, they work so fucking hard and they're really good at what they do. But, and no offense to them or anybody who works in film, but at the end of the day, all they're left with is a little credit at the end of the film.
Right.
And it's like you're a little cog in a very large machine. And then it's just, you can take some ownership. Like, hey, you know that movie you really like? I was the cable wrangler. I made sure the camera operator didn't trip over anything. And it's like, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it, I mean, it's, that job needs to be done, and people should take pride in doing a good job and everything. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like, it's just, it's so much more satisfying to like write something unique and you put it all together, everything, and then you put something out and people enjoy it, and then you can point to that and be like, I made that thing.
Right.
Like everything, I made it. And nothing has come close to that. And I was like, I could see myself doing it until I'm dead. Basically, I love the idea of just doing this all the time, just making dumb videos and putting it out there and making people laugh. I love making people laugh. That's always been a thing with me. Like, I love jokes. I love comedy. I watch a lot of stand up. I love making people laugh. I love laughing.
Nice, man.
It's just such a good feeling. And I
Yeah.
like giving that to other people by making stupid shit.
We all need more laughing, especially these days. I feel like it's
Yeah, for sure.
it's just seems like every time you get on anything on the internet, it's like, oh, we talked about that last time. Every time you look at the computer, you feel like you have to lean back and look out the window and make sure the world isn't actually on fire like everyone says it is.
Oh yeah.
So
I got a tweet not long ago. Somebody was like it was all in one tweet. Somebody wrote, what'd you think of the new Super Mario trailer? Also, how about the fact we could get nuked tomorrow.
Like in the same breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
But the trailer was mentioned first. As if the fact that we could all get fucking nuked the next day was an afterthought.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, this is where we are.
Oh, yeah.
As a society. It's just like, we're just waiting for the next dumb fucking reboot until the day we look out our window and there's a giant mushroom cloud just fucking evaporating everything like Terminator 2. And at that point, everybody will probably be like happy. You know, oh, yes, the flames, please come evaporate
Finally.
my skeleton. End it all, please.
Have you read the book The Three Body Problem?
I haven't. No, is that fiction, nonfiction?
Well, it's fiction.
True story.
Yeah, we're actually going to review it here shortly on our podcast. That'll be one of the next books we do, but they're going to make a Netflix series about it too, I guess.
Okay.
And there's an interesting concept in that kind of like you were just talking about, where basically people are like, yeah, just go ahead, bring on the end of the world. We don't even give a shit at this point.
Well,
Yeah.
they're asking for it, actually.
Yeah. At one point, they are actually asking for the world to be ended because of where society's at. So,
Mhm.
Yeah. I also try to keep in mind, you know, like things do seem bad right now, but it was almost always worse. Like when you go further back in history,
right.
you know, it's like we are lucky to be in the time we're in now. But if all you focus on is now, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems right now, but like at least there's not some Great Depression right now or
Yeah.
a Holocaust or a fucking tyrannical dictator or anything like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like or before that, where life was just war, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like constant battles and land being seized and taken over and assassinations and like just constant bloodshed. And it's like I try and remember to be grateful that, you know, I can do what I do. I have a computer, I can make all this shit, I can earn a living, I have these video games,
Right.
yeah, I can pass the time. There's a lot to be grateful for at the same time, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
In addition to everything being shit. Yeah.
I saw that put into great context, that it was like, I'd much rather live in my 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment now than as a king, you know, 1,000 years ago, because even a king 1,000 years ago didn't have running water. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, what do you do? Like you sit on a throne in a giant empty stone room and you
right.
take a shit in a hole somewhere
Yeah.
when you need to.
Right.
And that's life.
Yeah.
Like there's not even like magazines.
Yep.
to read. Like what do you do to pass the
Right.
time except like fuck and kill people and like that's it.
That was it. Yep.
No Nintendo or anything.
Right. Nice.
It's just nice to have all this software and movies and shit to get lost in, you know.
Oh,
At least we have that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, John, we really appreciate you coming on, and we don't want to eat up too much of your Saturday. I know it's
Oh, no problem. If you guys want to keep going, that's cool. If you want to cut it off, that's cool. I'm used to like long form stuff, so I'm quite happy either way.
No, it's cool. We just appreciate you coming on, man, and talking to us. To be honest, it's a huge opportunity for us, so we definitely appreciate your time.
Of course, man. I'm happy that you considered me. Is this going on YouTube or somewhere?
Yeah, so we run our podcast through Anchor, and then I also usually I throw it together in video format, and I'll throw it up on YouTube also. So
Sweet. So you do have a YouTube channel, right?
yes,
Mhm.
yep.
Okay, right on. What's that called?
It's Knights of the Pageless Library.
Okay, so right, should have figured.
Sometimes they're different.
Yeah, but nah, man, I honestly, we probably could talk to you all afternoon, but silly enough, I scheduled another conversation today. So,
Oh, no problem.
but
That's cool.
We should definitely do this again sometime, though, man. If that would be possible, we would definitely love
Yeah, I'm
to
up for
talk
it.
to you more.
Yeah, this is great. I enjoy talking to people, so I'm really glad you had me on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Again, we just we appreciate you coming on because Bo, you had mentioned even that he was kind of nervous because Arby and the Cheif. How old were you when that started, Bo?
I couldn't have been very old.
Yeah,
Maybe like 7 or 8.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been with him for a long part of his life.
Yeah, I get a lot. I get a lot of that. People reaching out to me and saying, "I watched your show when I was really young." And part of me is like, "Yikes!" Like, because the language is so like foul. But I just like they seem to have extracted the right things from my show, thankfully, and not just acted like Cheif.
Yeah. There was a period of time where me and Ryan could speak exclusively in Arby and Cheif quotes and like have full conversations.
Yeah, dude. So this is kind of like a dream come true then to get to talk to the creative mind behind all of it. It's so cool.
It's been so surreal.
Very happy to hear that. I hope I answered. I hope my answers were good enough what you were looking for. If not, or if you think of anything else, yeah, we can do another one of these if you want to tackle any other topics or whatever.
Yeah, man, that'd be perfect. We probably get a hold of you in the future if that's the case, huh?
Yeah, right on. Do you guys have Discord or anything like that?
We do have a Discord, don't we, Ryan?
We do. I honestly haven't been on there in quite a while though, because it wasn't really getting any traction or anything like that. So we just kind of, it's there, but I haven't done anything with it. So
okay, well, email's still fine if you want to do that. It's just it might be a little bit easier for like the fine adjustments of like when to get together and connect if like you DM me over something. If
okay, sure.
If you have something like that, but email is fine if you just want to do that.
Okay. Well, right on, man. We appreciate it. And Bo, you got anything else?
No, this has been like truly a treat. Sorry I wasn't talking so much, but I was just really like kind of absorbing everything that you were saying.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to talk.
Well, right on, man. So with that, we'll go ahead and end the recording here, and we will catch everybody in the next one.